This is Jeb Blunt, and it's Money Monday on the Sales Gravy Podcast.
Say make money, money, make money, money, money. Make money, money, make money, money, money. Money makes the world go round. I'm the talk around town. Remy gave me the sound.
Hey, this is Jeb Blunt Jr., and I'm filling in for Jeb Blunt on today's Money Monday. It's a special episode. It's something that my team has produced and we have written, and it's more of a narrative. So if you enjoy this, if you get to the end of it and you want to give us your feedback, please give us a rating and give us 5 stars, but also shoot us a DM on LinkedIn, or you can connect with me directly. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts were on this podcast or what topics you'd like to hear next. But before we get going, imagine having the ultimate competitive advantage. Imagine every piece of your content attracting ideal clients to you, not chasing them down. That's not a dream. It's what's possible with the right strategy. If you haven't heard by now, here's the news. Jeb and LinkedIn expert Bryn Tillman have written the playbook that will evolve the way you sell. Their new book, The LinkedIn Edge, is your ultimate resource for turning LinkedIn into a revenue-generating machine. You'll learn how to prospect with power, network with purpose, and build a brand that attracts clients to you. Not only that, but they dive into the fundamentals of using AI so you won't get left behind. Don't wait. Go get The LinkedIn Edge because it's on sale everywhere you buy books. That's The LinkedIn Edge. One leg was a half inch too short. The decorative edges I'd spent hours on didn't quite match, and the lacquer, let's just say it had a certain unique texture. This table was objectively flawed, but I loved it more than any piece of furniture I'd ever owned. A few years ago, I was on a desperate search for a dining table. My favorite from my old place was gorgeous. It was a single-piece antique that mathematically just wouldn't fit into my new home. I loved that table. It held a place of honor in my house, hosting countless Sunday dinners and long holiday conversations, and losing it felt like losing a member of the family. So I started the hunt for a replacement, a piece worthy of that table's memory. And I found a potential candidate in a high-end furniture store here locally in Augusta. It was a stunning cherry table, beautifully crafted, that was exactly the kind of statement piece I was looking for. And I ran my hand along the smooth, cool surface. I could picture it. Loaded with platters of food, surrounded with the people that I love. But then I saw the price tag, and it was breathtakingly, prohibitively expensive. My wallet slammed shut so hard, you could practically hear it in the parking lot. I knew it was perfect, but I just couldn't bring myself to pay for it. It was disappointing. The salesperson even tried to offer a discount, but it just wasn't enough. So I thanked him and I walked out the door, resigning my life to settling. In the end, I wound up with a mass-produced joined piece from a department store. And for the next 6 months, I was miserable. The kitchen table was just a table. Functional, yes, but it had no soul. And every time I looked at it, I was reminded of what I'd given up. I griped about it constantly. My wife, bless her patience, suffered through my near daily complaints that it just wasn't the statement piece I wanted. And for 6 months, I was continually disappointed with my choice. I was looking for a replacement again. Not just a stand-in this time. Finally, I was out of options. I'd been to every store in the area, every antique store, every Facebook marketplace corner that I could find. And I took the advice of an antique store owner, and she said to me, go see a woodworker. I really didn't know what a woodworker would look like, or where their websites were, or where their offices were, or where their garages were, but she handed me a business card and I drove to the address. There was a dingy, dark garage on the south side of town, and it smelled like sawdust and varnish and a lifetime of hard work. I'm not a craftsman. In fact, my family is well known for ruining any object that requires construction. But here in this dusty, disorganized space, I knew I was seeing some of the most beautiful tables of every shape and size that I had ever seen. The man who walked from the backside of the garage with calloused hands came out and shook my hand, and I told him about my predicament. And then I told him my budget. I showed him pictures of the expensive table that I'd fallen in love with, and he put his hand on one of the finished tables, tapped his fingers gently, and just shrugged. Yeah, I just can't build you a table for that price. He said it plainly, and I was just about to leave, giving him that obligatory thanks, and I turned on my heel, but he hit me with an unexpected question. He said, are you interested in learning how to make one? It might cost you a little bit less than what I've already made. He wasn't selling me a table. He was selling me an experience, a partnership. And so we began, and he showed me his design software. He walked me through all the different scenarios that I might have in my house: Christmas dinner, a birthday party, my kids doing their homework. We chose the wood, we figured out the curves for the legs and the thickness of the top, and every line was to my specifications. I was a co-creator, not the consumer. And we even discussed what materials would hold up best to kids and animals. This was my table, no one else's. And that meant a lot. When he finally showed me the quote for the materials and the lessons, it was actually about 30% more than the expensive showroom table. And yet, I didn't really have a struggle with the decision. It was simple and easy. I looked at the plans, I remembered all the time we'd spent on the design and the conversations that we shared, and I said, sure, let's build this thing. I picked out the perfect piece of maple, and he taught me how to cut it, how to sand it, how to shape it, how to use a router to create decorative edges, how to apply gloss for the perfect shine, and when we were done, I happily paid the higher price, despite all of its imperfections. This was my table, built with my sweat, crafted with my hands, and I'd earned it. When I brought it home, I was so proud. I invited every single person over I could just so that I could show it off. And every time I looked at it, I found myself thinking about how perfect it was, even with all of those flaws. It's a great story, JBJ, but what the hell does a wobbly table have to do with B2B sales? I'm so glad you asked. The slightly askew table wasn't just furniture. It was a blinding flash of the obvious and a lesson in the concept called the IKEA effect. The IKEA effect is simple. The more work a person puts into an object or a project, the higher they value that work. Not too long after my deep dive into woodworking, I found myself in a similar situation with a prospect. We were selling a sales training program. I ran my typical process, and the decision maker leveled me in my proposal meeting. I love what you're proposing, but your competitors are beating your price. We're on a budget. Is there anything else you can do here? I'm sure you've heard that one before. I wanted to win this client, but discounts really never win deals. They just bring a lot more headaches. And I was about to chalk up the deal to a closed loss, but the memory of that woodworker's shop flashed through my mind. How about this? I said. I know our price is higher, but I think you and I can design something that's perfect for your team. What if we work together to craft a custom solution, one that covers all of your needs and fits into your company culture? I'm not going to lie, he was skeptical, but he agreed. And so began our own version of the woodworking project. Instead of sawdust and maple, we worked with spreadsheets and shared documents. Instead of a router, we used a digital whiteboard. We spent hours in meetings outlining their team's specific pain points, their obstacles they faced with pipeline hygiene, and the skills that they were lacking. We designed a plan with the right workshops, the right coaching, and the right support for their specific problems. When I finally presented the final proposal, it included a fee that was about 20% higher than the competition. But it wasn't a surprise. We had built the solution together, every step of the way. He didn't just see a list of services, but a reflection of his own team's needs. He had invested time, effort, and insight. He had skin in the game. He had a sense of ownership. And in the end, with our co-created plan in hand, the client happily paid our higher fee. This isn't just a happy ending. It's a powerful principle. We beat out the competition, not because of our price, but because we pulled the customer in and leveraged the IKEA effect. This behavioral economic principle states that people place a disproportionately higher value on the things that they helped create. Every frustrating moment, every small victory when we are building something creates what behavioral economists call effort justification. Your brain can't accept that all that work that you put in was for something ordinary, so it reframes the results to something extraordinary. It's the same reason my handmade table with its slight wobble and imperfect edges felt more valuable to me than the flawless showroom piece I wouldn't spend a small fortune on. And it's exactly why the prospect was willing to pay a premium for a sales trainee. By involving him in crafting the solution, by making him the co-creator rather than just the buyer, we triggered the same psychological principle. He didn't just purchase the program, he helped design it. The lesson? When people build something, whether it's furniture, solutions, or relationships, they don't just create the thing itself. They create ownership. Thanks for listening to the Sales Gravy Podcast. I'm Jeb Blunt Jr., and we'll catch you next time. Hey, it's JBJ, and thanks for listening to this episode. You're still here, so good on you. While you're here, I want to ask you to go ahead and write us a review on Apple Music or give us 5 stars on Spotify. It means a ton to our marketing team. In fact, you are our marketing. So if you're at the end of this episode and you've kept listening, give us those reviews. It really means a lot. And before you go, If you haven't, head over to Sales Gravy University and check out a free course on us using code FREECOURSE at checkout. That's free course at checkout and get one free course on Sales Gravy University. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Survival of the fittest, you can sink or swim. I've been broke, I ain't never going back again. I need some C-notes, some cheddar, and a stack of ends. I need a bowl of dough, I don't need no Facebook friends. I need a pack of them snaps, a handful of Fetty Wops, and rubber band on my greenbacks. Look, dawg, don't be playing with my paper. I need every red cent, that's why I brought my little scraper. Money, money,